What is that?
Man, I don't know. Ask Google.
Those Harambe memes are still funny, right?
What is up, guys? It's Cole, and welcome back to another brand suicide. Today, we're going to be talking about the Google phones, specifically the Pixel. So in case you didn't know, Google had their event today, and they announced their newest smartphone. Google puts out a smartphone every year under the name the Nexus brand, and I actually have a couple. Nexus 6P, Nexus 6, and the Nexus 5. I used to make Minecraft videos on these two. Anyway, today, actually a few hours ago, Google announced their next phone, and it's not a Nexus. It's called the Google Pixel, and it's, oh Christ, it's bad. Guys, it's bad. It's very bad. And this is all unscripted, by the way. This is getting home. This is basically a rant, but I'm not going to put rant in the title because I'm not Wild Spartans. Before we get into anything, we have to talk about the Nexus brand. So back in 2010, with the Nexus 1, Google announced their first mobile smartphone, an example of what Android phones basically should be. The purest of Android. It gets all the updates as soon as possible. Anyway, the Nexus brand really took off with the 5. It was the first huge Nexus to make a big deal, and people started noticing it. The 6 was kind of shaky. The 6P really solidified the brand. It became a huge phone for tech enthusiasts, solid Android with great specs and affordable prices. And guess what Google did? Google decided to kill the Nexus brand this year.
Looking out my window, wonder how it came to.
Basically, the Pixel is a lot like an iPhone. First of all, it's built by HTC, and I'd just like to put out there HTC is a bad company. They were fantastic maybe back in like 2011 and 12. Google wants to compete so hard with the iPhone. If you take a look at this thing, it looks very similar to an iPhone. It's, you know, curved on the edges. It's got, you know, a little camera in the top right corner on the back. It's pretty much a literal iPhone, but it's just like the design is so bad. It's so bad. You got this weird thing with the two panels on the back. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. Like, I guess they said the glass was better for the signal or whatever. If you're gonna put glass on the back, please make the whole back glass, all right? If I'm gonna shatter it, I wanna shatter the whole thing. And there's no front speakers. I'm sorry, as a tech enthusiast, I have to speak out about this stuff. I adore front speakers. I've been through bottom speakers on my iPod Touch and my Nexus 5. Then I got front speakers. I legitimately cannot go back. And if you look at this Pixel, it's got room for front speakers. It has these two massive bezels, right? And it looks like an iPhone. But those bezels work for iPhone because iPhone has a button. The Pixel doesn't have a button. Why would you put like a huge bezel if there's nothing going to go there? It has on-screen keys. I actually made this so you can see what it would look like with front speakers, and it looks a lot better. It's not just empty on the bottom. Basically, the phone looks bad. Another thing is the fact that they're so obsessed with competing with iPhone, yet they're not doing it right. The biggest thing, the reason a lot of people didn't find the Nexus brand up until the 5, 6, and 7 was that it wasn't really available through carriers. You had to get it from like the Google store, and it was limited availability. The Pixel's limited availability.
Yeah, so tiny update. It turns out the Pixel is actually Verizon only for the time being. So that pretty much speaks for itself.
They're basically taking a brand that was really nice, the Nexus brand that finally got a name, and they're just throwing it in the garbage for this iPhone competitor. They basically just recreated the Nexus brand. Everything about the Nexus brand that kept it from being super successful is back. Honestly, I think Google needs to stop trying to compete with iPhone. You can't compete with iPhone. The reason that people buy Android phones is because they don't like iPhones. I'm an Android user. I love Android. But looking at this from this perspective, no one's going to switch to an Android that's just like an iPhone. There's nothing big to bring you over. You basically are just getting a worse iPhone. Android has its own great qualities that, you know, iOS doesn't. That's why people invest. Stop trying to compete with Apple. My camera battery is actually running really low. I'm probably going to lose this footage.
Daytona Beach, all the way up to Jacksonville. This moves 20 miles to the west, and you and everyone you know are dead. All of you. Because you can't survive it. It's not possible unless you're very, very lucky. And your kids die too.